The Ellen Show's audience buzzed with excitement as cameras rolled and stage lights painted the set in soft turquoise hues. It was one of those bright, optimistic mornings when everyone expected laughter, warmth, and that signature Ellen charm. But no one, not even Ellen herself, could have guessed how quickly things would turn from smiles to shock. Selena Gomez, radiant in a sleek red dress, walked onto the stage to thunderous applause. She smiled politely, waving to the fans, her usual gentle demeanor shining through. Ellen stood from her chair, greeted her with a hug, and gestured for her to sit. "Selena Gomez, ladies and gentlemen," Ellen said, her trademark grin wide as ever. "You've been busy, huh? New music, new film, and I heard something about a mystery man in Paris." The audience giggled. Selena laughed softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You know me, Ellen. I'm always busy, mostly with work, not mystery men," she replied, her tone light. Ellen leaned forward, mischievous glint in her eye. "Oh, come on. We all saw the pictures. Selena and that very handsome guy leaving a restaurant at midnight. That doesn't exactly scream business meeting." The crowd erupted in laughter. Selena's smile tightened slightly. It was the kind of teasing she was used to, but the topic, her personal life, was always a sensitive one. She took a breath, maintaining her composure. "You know how it is," she said calmly. "People like to assume things," Ellen chuckled. "Assume? Honey, those pictures were practically an announcement." The laughter hit again, but this time Selena didn't join in. The tension was subtle at first, almost invisible to the casual viewer. Her eyes darted down for a brief second, an instinctive gesture she made when trying to suppress irritation. Trying to steer the tone, Selena added, "I think sometimes people forget I'm still just a person. Dating or not, I deserve a bit of privacy." Ellen nodded, but not without a smirk. "Of course. But if you want privacy, maybe don't date in Paris, especially in front of every paparazzi camera." A collective ooh rippled through the audience. Ellen laughed it off, expecting Selena to do the same. But the expression on Selena's face changed. Her smile faded, her posture straightened. The light-hearted celebrity charm she brought into the room began to peel away. "Ellen," she said, her tone suddenly sharper, "you've been in this industry long enough to know how media twists things. You know how damaging that can be." Ellen blinked, caught slightly off guard. "Selena, I was just joking. Come on, it's all in good fun." But the crowd sensed it, the air shifted. The energy that usually filled the Ellen Show began to dim. Selena's voice was calm but steady. "I know you were joking, but sometimes those jokes hurt more than people realize. I've been mocked for years about my relationships, my body, my mental health, and it always starts like this. With a joke." Ellen adjusted in her seat, trying to regain control. "Well, I think everyone knows I love you, Selena. We're just talking. People love your story, it's part of being famous." Selena's eyes narrowed slightly. "Being famous doesn't mean people get to laugh at my pain." The audience grew silent. For the first time, Ellen's smile faltered. The cameras were still rolling, the lights still glaring, but it felt as if the room had shrunk. Ellen tried to shift gears quickly. "Okay, let's talk about your new album then." But Selena wasn't done. "No, Ellen. Let's talk about why people think it's okay to humiliate others for views. You have one of the biggest platforms in the world. What you say matters." The control that Ellen usually commanded over her show began slipping away. The audience didn't know whether to clap or stay quiet. Some looked nervous. Others were wide-eyed, waiting to see what would happen next. Ellen forced a laugh. "Selena, this isn't an argument. It's a fun show, let's not turn it into something dramatic." Selena leaned forward, voice calm but edged with emotion. "Maybe that's the problem, Ellen. You think it's all fun until someone gets hurt. I've watched guests come here, laugh off insults, pretend it's okay, but it's not." A murmur spread through the studio audience. You could almost hear the tension buzzing like electricity. Ellen looked into the camera, her smile stiffening. "Okay, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back." But Selena didn't stop there. "No, Ellen, let's finish this on camera. You always talk about kindness, about being kind to one another. But where is that kindness when it comes to your jokes?" The room froze. Ellen's hand hovered over her cue cards. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. The camera panned slightly, capturing Selena's eyes, filled with frustration, pain, and strength. She wasn't yelling. She wasn't dramatic. She was raw, real, and unapologetic. Finally, Ellen spoke, her tone quieter. "I didn't mean to hurt you. If something I said crossed a line, I'm sorry. Selena nodded slowly but didn't smile. I appreciate that. But maybe it's time talk shows stop turning people into punchlines. The director's voice echoed faintly from behind the camera. Cut to break. Cut to break. The audience sat in uneasy silence as the show faded into a commercial. The applause sign flashed, but almost no one clapped. As the lights dimmed, Selena exhaled deeply, her face softening. Ellen looked away, her expression unreadable. In that brief off-air moment, two generations of fame clashed, one built on humor and ratings, the other on vulnerability and self-respect. And though no one said it out loud, everyone in that studio knew. When the show returned from commercial, things would never be quite the same. The red light above the camera blinked back on. Live. Applause signs flashed again and the audience clapped awkwardly, still unsure how to feel after what had just happened. Ellen forced a cheerful smile, her voice bright but shaky. Welcome back to The Ellen Show. We're here with Selena Gomez talking about her amazing new album, and she trailed off for half a second, catching Selena's expression. Selena was sitting upright, hands folded in her lap, face calm but eyes still fierce. The friendly celebrity glow was gone. What remained was something real, and the viewers at home could feel it instantly. Ellen continued. So, this new record, it's very personal. You've said it's about growth and healing. Tell us about that, Selena nodded slowly. It is, she replied softly. It's about finding peace in a world that constantly tries to take it from you. The audience murmured. Her words were gentle, but they carried weight. I think people assume being in the spotlight means you're invincible, Selena added, but it's the opposite. Every joke, every rumor, every photo, it chips away at you. And then, one day, you realize you're just tired of pretending it's funny. Ellen's smile flickered. She tried to steer the show back to normal. I get that, she said, nodding. But you know, humor's part of life. We laugh so we don't cry, right? Selena turned her head slightly toward her. Sure, she said, voice cool. But not when the laughter comes at someone's expense. That line hit the room like a quiet thunderclap. Even Ellen paused. The audience stayed still, some looking between the two women like they were watching a live movie unfold. Ellen's posture stiffened. Selena, I've always been about fun, never harm. I've had thousands of guests and we've joked, laughed. Selena interrupted, her tone steady. But sometimes your jokes have consequences. You just don't see the aftermath. The crowd gasped, not loudly but audibly enough for the microphones to pick up. The producers in the control room began cutting to wide shots, trying to make the scene less tense. Ellen leaned forward, her voice quieter now. So you think I'm part of the problem? Selena looked straight at her. I think we all are, she said. I've done it too. But we can't talk about kindness and then turn pain into punchlines. For a moment, no one spoke. It was the kind of silence that makes every heartbeat sound loud. Ellen sighed softly, her voice dropping its usual bounce. You're right, she admitted. Maybe sometimes I forget what it feels like on the other side. Selena's expression softened slightly. It's easy to forget, she replied. Until it's you. The crowd began clapping, not the usual loud cheer, but a slow, sincere applause that spread like a wave. Ellen smiled faintly, nodding in acknowledgement. Selena, she said, you've always been brave. I guess you just reminded me of that again. Selena smiled back, a small, tired smile, but real this time. I didn't mean to start a scene, she said, almost laughing. I just couldn't laugh it off anymore. Ellen chuckled lightly, shaking her head. Well, you definitely made this episode memorable. That broke the tension. The audience laughed softly. The two women exchanged a glance. Awkward but warmer than before. For the first time since the clash began, there was a hint of mutual respect in the air. Ellen turned to the camera. You know, I think we all learned something today. Even me, Selena nodded. Sometimes the most uncomfortable conversations are the ones that actually change things. The applause rose again, this time loud and genuine. As the outro music began to play and the credits rolled, Ellen reached out and touched Selena's hand. Thank you for being honest, she said quietly. Off mic, Selena looked at her and replied, Thank you for listening. The camera zoomed out, catching the two women smiling faintly as the screen faded to black. But backstage, as the audience exited and the stage crew began packing up, Ellen sat alone for a moment on her chair. Lost in thought, she wasn't angry, Just thoughtful. Maybe for the first time in a long while, someone had called her out not with rage, but with truth. And across the hallway, Selena took a deep breath, her team surrounding her. She didn't regret it. Not one word. Because sometimes a voice shaking on live TV still means strength. And that day, Selena Gomez had finally used hers. Not to sing, not to perform, but to be heard. Within hours of the broadcast, the internet exploded. Clips from The Ellen Show spread like wildfire, chopped, edited, and replayed across every social platform. One version, captioned "Selena Gomez stands up for herself live," hit 1 million views before midnight. Another, titled "Ellen crosses the line with Selena Gomez," climbed even faster. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, it didn't matter where you looked. Everyone was talking about it. Some called Selena brave. Others accused her of being too sensitive. But one thing was undeniable. The clip had struck a nerve. That night, Selena sat quietly in her Los Angeles apartment, her phone buzzing nonstop. Her manager, Grace, paced nearby, holding an iPad filled with notifications. "Selena, it's everywhere," Grace said, scrolling through the trending page. "Selena won Ellen. Ellen canceled. Proud of Selena. You've basically taken over the internet." Selena sighed, brushing her hair back. "I didn't want this to be drama," she murmured. "I just wanted to be honest." Grace stopped pacing. "Well, honesty's gone viral," she said dryly. "People are calling you the face of authenticity in Hollywood. You just hit 3 million mentions on Twitter." Selena gave a small laugh. "I don't even know what to feel. Half the comments are love, half are hate. Same old story." Her phone buzzed again, a text from an old friend. It read, "Proud of you for speaking your truth. About time someone did." Selena smiled faintly. Maybe it was worth it. Meanwhile, over at the Ellen Show studios, the atmosphere was tense. The team sat in a production meeting, watching the playback in silence. Ellen entered quietly, coffee in hand, her face unreadable. "Okay," she said finally. "Let's talk about it." Her producer, Andy, hesitated. "The networks." "Not thrilled," he admitted. "They're saying it's getting too much negative attention. The sponsors are asking questions." Ellen took a sip, her gaze fixed on the paused screen, Selena's sharp words frozen mid-frame. "Do they want me to apologize?" she asked. Andy shrugged. "Maybe not officially, but people expect a response. Everyone's saying you were dismissive." Ellen leaned back, letting out a slow breath. "You know what's crazy? I didn't even think I said anything bad. I was just doing my usual thing, of making people laugh." "Yeah," Andy said softly. "But times have changed. People don't laugh at the same things anymore." Ellen didn't respond. For once, the queen of daytime TV looked genuinely uncertain. By the next morning, major news outlets picked up the story. Headlines flooded the internet. "Selena Gomez confronts Ellen DeGeneres live." The moment everyone's talking about. Fans praise Selena for speaking up about mockery in media. Ellen faces backlash after on-air clash with Selena Gomez. Clips from the episode were everywhere. Reaction videos, commentary breakdowns, even TikTok edits set to dramatic background music. Selena tried not to read the comments, but it was impossible to avoid them completely. Some fans thanked her for standing up to Hollywood's fake kindness. Others accused her of ruining Ellen's career. She scrolled through quietly, then put her phone face down. "You can't win," she whispered. Grace looked up from her laptop. "Maybe it's not about winning," she said. "Maybe it's about being heard." Selena nodded slowly. "Yeah," she said. "Maybe." A few days later, Ellen addressed the situation at the start of her next show. Her tone was softer, more reflective. "I've been thinking a lot about last week's episode," she began. "I've built this show on laughter, but I also believe in learning when we get it wrong." Selena's words reminded me that even good intentions can hurt when we're not listening carefully. The audience clapped gently. It wasn't her usual roaring crowd, more like quiet approval. Ellen continued, "So, if my words made her feel mocked or uncomfortable, I take full responsibility. That's not who I want to be." The moment went viral too. But this time it was Ellen's humility that caught attention. Some called it damage control. Others said it was growth. Selena watched the clip later that night, a small smile forming as Ellen's apology played. "She handled it well," Grace said beside her. Selena nodded. "Yeah," she replied softly. "She did." There was no bitterness, no resentment, just quiet understanding. Because in an industry where apologies are rare and authenticity even rarer, two women had just done both, in front of millions. By the end of the week, the internet had moved on to the next controversy, but the impact of that one interview lingered. Fans began quoting Selena's words. "Being famous doesn't mean people get to laugh at my pain." It became a viral mantra, a reminder that even those in the spotlight are still human. Selena didn't plan to start a movement. But maybe, just maybe, she did. A few days passed, but the echoes of that viral confrontation still lingered in the air. Both Ellen and Selena had returned to their routines, but neither could fully shake off what had happened on that stage. For Ellen, it was a rare bruise to her image. For Selena, it was a reminder that her voice had power. Behind the screens, though, the producers of The Ellen Show had an idea, a plan to turn tension into resolution. They reached out to Selena's team with a simple message. Ellen would love to have Selena back on the show. This time, to talk, not interview. When Grace told her, Selena's eyebrows lifted. "Back on the same show? Already?" Grace nodded. "Yeah, Ellen wants to clear the air on camera. Says she doesn't want the world to think it's bad blood." Selena hesitated. The thought of going back to that same stage and the bright lights, the audience, the tension, made her uneasy. But at the same time, she knew how powerful it could be to end things with grace. After a long pause, she said softly, "If it's genuine, I'll do it." A week later, the familiar turquoise lights of The Ellen Show illuminated the studio once again. The energy was different this time. Calmer, quieter, almost humble. As the audience clapped, Ellen stepped onto the stage, her usual grin replaced with something more grounded. "Today's show is a little different," she said, looking straight into the camera. "Sometimes in life we mess up. Sometimes we say things without realizing the weight they carry. And when that happens, the best thing we can do is talk about it." The audience nodded, sensing sincerity. Ellen gestured to the side stage. "So please welcome back Selena Gomez." The crowd erupted in applause, but this time it wasn't the typical celebrity excitement. It felt like respect. Selena walked in, dressed simply in a cream blouse and jeans, her smile soft but cautious. Ellen stood to greet her, offering a hug. Selena accepted it. Brief but real, they sat down. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Ellen broke the silence. "Selena," she began, "I want to thank you for coming back. I know last time was intense." Selena gave a faint chuckle. "That's one word for it." Ellen smiled weakly. "I've rewatched that episode more times than I'd like to admit. And I realized something, that you were right. I didn't think about how my words might have affected you." Selena nodded, her expression calm. "I appreciate that, Ellen. Honestly, I wasn't trying to attack you. I just had reached my limit." "I know," Ellen said, her voice softening. "And you had every right to say what you did. I've always wanted this show to be about laughter and kindness, but somewhere along the way, I forgot that kindness has to come first." The studio was silent. You could feel every pair of eyes locked on them. Selena's eyes glistened slightly, her tone warmer now. "We all make mistakes. I just wanted people to see that it's okay to stand up for yourself, even when it's uncomfortable." Ellen nodded. "You did more than that. You made me think." "You made a lot of people think." The audience broke into applause again, louder this time, sincere. Ellen turned toward the crowd. "This industry can make you numb sometimes. We laugh, we move on, we forget. But Selena reminded us that empathy isn't a trend, it's a choice." Selena smiled, exhaling softly. "That means a lot. Thank you." Then, unexpectedly, Ellen said, "How about we make a promise, both of us?" Selena tilted her head. "What kind of promise?" Ellen smiled. "To lead with kindness. Not just talk about it, but live it." "For real," Selena grinned back. "Deal." They shook hands as the audience rose in a standing ovation. The studio lights seemed warmer than ever, as if the tension that once filled the air had melted away completely. As the segment ended, Ellen looked directly into the camera. "If you take one thing from today," she said, "let it be this. Even the hardest conversations can end with understanding." The applause thundered as the credits rolled. Backstage, away from the cameras, Ellen and Selena shared one final moment. "You know, Ellen said quietly. That was probably the most honest show I've ever done. Selena smiled. Honesty's scary, but it's healing too. Ellen nodded. You're a lot stronger than people realize. Selena laughed softly. I think I'm just tired of being quiet. They hugged again, longer this time. No tension, no cameras, just mutual respect. And as Selena walked toward the exit, she felt lighter. The air outside the studio felt different, freer. She had faced the same stage that once made her feel small, and this time she walked off it standing tall. The morning after the reunion episode aired, the internet felt different. For once, there wasn't chaos or cancel culture noise. There was peace, a rare kind of calm that spread across social media, as fans watched two women do something almost unheard of in Hollywood. Forgive each other publicly, clips of the handshake and the line. Lead with kindness. Not just talk about it, live it. Flooded every platform. People reposted it with captions like, "This is how adults handle conflict," and "Real women empower each other." It wasn't just trending, it was transforming. Selena woke up late that morning, sunlight streaming across her living room floor. Her phone was buzzing nonstop, but this time, it wasn't negativity, it was love. Her notifications were full of fans thanking her for being brave, real, and inspiring. One message stood out. A young girl had written, "Because of you, I stood up for myself at school today. Thank you for showing me that kindness isn't weakness." Selena read it twice, her chest tightening with emotion. She smiled softly, replying with a simple heart emoji and the words, "You're stronger than you think." Across the city, Ellen sat in her office, scrolling through comments of her own. The support was overwhelming. Even critics who once mocked her for being too soft were applauding her growth. For the first time in a long while, Ellen wasn't thinking about ratings or scripts or sponsors. She was thinking about impact, and she realized something. That day, Selena hadn't humiliated her. She had humanized her. A week later, both women received an unexpected call from a major network producer. "I just watched that episode again," the producer said. "We've never seen anything like it. You two reminded people that honesty doesn't have to mean hostility." He offered them the chance to co-host a charity special together, focusing on mental health, awareness, and empathy in entertainment. When Grace brought it up to Selena, she smiled, amused. "Life really does come full circle, doesn't it?" "Are you gonna do it?" Grace asked. Selena thought for a moment. "Yeah," she said. "I think I should." The charity special aired 3 weeks later, filmed in a cozy studio with soft lighting and an intimate audience. The energy was pure, heartfelt, and raw. Ellen opened the event with her usual wit but mixed it with a vulnerability she rarely showed. "A few weeks ago," she began, "I got called out and I deserved it. But instead of ending there, it turned into one of the most healing experiences of my life." Selena followed, standing beside her. "Sometimes growth doesn't come from comfort. It comes from confrontation, the kind that comes from love, not hate." Their words resonated deeply. The audience teared up. The live stream hit record-breaking engagement. They interviewed guests who had been bullied, mocked, or misunderstood in public spaces, artists, creators, and fans alike. Together, they raised millions for youth mental health initiatives. It wasn't about fame anymore. It was about purpose. After the cameras shut off, Ellen turned to Selena with a smile. I think we just proved something to the world," she said. Selena raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" "That you can disagree, even get hurt, and still come out kinder than before." Selena grinned. "Yeah, who knew snapping could start something good?" They both laughed, genuinely this time. Later that evening, Selena walked along the quiet streets outside the studio, the city lights glowing softly against the dusk. For the first time in a while, she felt still. Her mind drifted back to that day. Ellen's joke, her own anger, the awkward silence, the viral storm. It could have ruined her image. It could have turned her into another Hollywood headline. But instead, it had set her free. For so long, she'd carried the weight of being perfect, unproblematic, the girl who smiled even when hurt. That day, she'd chosen truth over performance, and somehow, it had opened doors she never expected. She looked up at the night sky, whispering to herself, "Sometimes it takes breaking on live TV to finally find your voice." Her phone buzzed and a message from Ellen. "We did good." Selena smiled at the screen, typing back, "We did real, Ellen, and that's better." By the end of the month, the world had moved on to its next viral moment, but that conversation remained a quiet turning point, a reminder that empathy and honesty could coexist. Even in the glare of Hollywood lights, Selena's fans began calling her confrontation the kindness moment. Ellen's producers dubbed it the pivot, but to Selena, it was just truth. Raw, imperfect, necessary truth. Months later, when she was interviewed about it again, she smiled and said simply, "It wasn't about winning or losing. It was about healing, and for both of us. And that was the difference between a scandal and a story that changed people. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing a person can do on live TV isn't to perform. It's to be real." And on that day, Selena Gomez did exactly that, reminding the world that fame might shine bright, but honesty burns brighter.